Hello, friends, and welcome to an unexpected podcast. I'm Ez.
And I'm Lane.
And we're talking Tolkien. How's it going today, buddy?
I am very excited, Ez.
Are you?
I can't believe this. In a lot of ways, it seems like this day has been coming for a long time.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's very unexpected. Because how long have we been talking about making this podcast? Let's do full disclosure.
Full
with our
disclosure,
listeners.
yeah, not very long. It was a couple weeks ago, right?
A couple weeks.
Yeah.
Like this idea, it's. I think it's been brewing for a lot longer than we've been talking about it. But it's. Well, the day's finally here.
I do another podcast, and we'd sort of started talking about my Star Wars podcast, right? And then all of a sudden, I wanted Lane just more involved. What? Is that good?
No, that's right.
That's right, right? Okay.
Yeah.
And we're standing here.
I'm just smiling at for the audience or the listeners. I'm just smiling at that.
Lane, we're going to be really giddy in this episode, by the way.
And can we tell them? It feels like Christmas morning.
It really does,
we feel like 5-year-old boys on Christmas morning about to open a present.
We have new equipment.
Yeah.
We have a new podcast. We've sort of rekindled a friendship, essentially.
And really, a friendship, and then even we're back in Middle Earth again. I feel like I've been gone for a while. I feel like I sailed west,
right,
and into the Grey Havens, and it wasn't as cool as people said, and we're back. And the Grey Havens maybe represents like other interests.
Yes, exactly.
Right,
I got you.
And so we're back in Middle Earth.
Lane didn't die or anything. He's
no. I'm not like resurrected. No, it's cool. It's cool.
No, but okay. So like the unexpected part of this podcast is we're standing in Lane's kitchen, and he's just sort of like, dude, do you want to maybe just start rereading the books again? And then I don't even know how it happened.
You've had some really good success with podcasts. Rebel Watch is awesome. It's the best Star Wars podcast out there, and that is a shameless plug.
Come on.
Listening to Mike and Ez is amazing, and that was very inspiring for me to even start thinking about the idea. And then Swish and Flick podcast, right?
Swish and Flick. Yep,
there's a Harry Potter literature podcast,
right?
And Ez is a producer on that, and they're the second most popular Harry Potter podcast in the world.
They're awesome. I mean, they don't like me saying this, but they're basically like the number 2 Harry Potter podcast in the world. I think they're the number 1 Harry Potter podcast in the world, but numbers wise, they're right behind.
That's amazing.
And they're 6 months. They've only been going for 6 months,
and they're 4 girls who just have women, I should say,
who
have a passion for Harry Potter.
Right.
So Ez has experience doing this and a lot of success doing this in a really short amount of time. Oh, come on, dude. You're being I told you.
No, it's fun. It's a hobby though. Right. And we have just had so much fun with it. And, Rebel Watch was fun. We had you on for trivia trials,
which was a blast.
And we got to see sort of Lane, under the lights, I
was sweaty.
Man, that was sweaty. It was a good time.
Sweaty.
But I guess we just sort of kept thinking to ourselves, we want to do this in another, just with another different content, right? Mm-hmm. And you and I both grew up just loving The Lord of the Rings, and it's sort of one of the things that I think brought us together. I mean,
it's all I don't remember having a conversation with you other than Lord of the Rings.
Oh, I know.
Even I don't know anything about your family,
orchestra.
I don't know where you went to school. Nothing. It's just What is your name again?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
That's all we know about each other.
Yes. So it makes sense. It's what we wanted to do. So the goal here with this is we kind of want to do a Lord of the Rings reread, and we want to get back in ourselves. There's a new show coming out.
Mm-hmm. We're gonna do it. The cool thing about this podcast, I think, is we're gonna do a lot of different stuff. Yeah. We're gonna mine the depths of Tolkien. We're gonna go back and reread. We're planning on everything he's written. We're gonna go back and do a reread of everything. We're gonna start with Lord of the Rings and Fellowship of the Ring, but we plan on going through everything, the Silmarillion, and trying to figure out that wonderful, confusing mess, right? the beauty of it, the beautiful mess. We're gonna do the Unfinished Tales. We're gonna do the Hobbit. We're gonna do the Children of Húrin. We're gonna go through all of it, but we're gonna start there. So we'll do a reread for to appeal to our inner literature nut. And it's going to be like a book club. It's going to be like
absolutely.
We really want to connect with listeners and readers.
We do.
Of Tolkien.
We really do.
We're gonna have that aspect. We're also gonna speculate on the show.
Right.
We have some really cool things lined up. So I think we're gonna have a little bit of everything within the world of Middle Earth and the world of Tolkien.
Right.
And
there's a lot there. I mean, so
much.
It's a big universe in a sense, and there's just a lot of his writings. They've done a lot with the movies. There's theories. There's there's so much with him.
Yeah.
You know, so I think it's something we've always wanted to. We talk about it anyway, so it's like let's just sit down across the table and see if we can maybe get, like you said, a bigger community to come. You know, listen to us go through a reread, and then also just sort of interact with us on Facebook and different places, and kind of create like a little community.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Which I think would be cool. So let's just real quickly kind of introduce ourselves again, because this is our welcome episode. Welcome to, Unexpected Podcast. And
we have to be calmed down, don't we? We're so excited. I'm so excited to be with you, dude. I'm so excited.
Too.
This is awesome.
I can't believe this is actually happening.
I can't either. It's like, it's
right.
It's like buffering right now. I feel like it's buffering in my mind. I'm like, oh, this is really happening.
This is happening. I know.
Amazing.
I know.
Well, and it feels so natural. It's awesome.
It is. And like once you get into it, it's a lot of fun. But we want to know you guys, but we want you to know us as well. So I guess
this episode is called Many Meetings.
That's right.
We're you're meeting us, and we'll be meeting you. So and we're coming to you from the Shire of America.
Tell them about it.
The beautiful state of Ohio. We're actually in my dining room right now. In Amanda, the village of Amanda, Ohio, between Lancaster and Circleville, down in southeastern Ohio. Beautiful, right in the foothills. I love living here because I feel like I'm in the Shire.
No, I mean, honestly, dude, I was coming from, I live over in Columbus, and I was driving out this way.
Minas Tirith.
And
world of the big folk.
Yeah, exactly. And it's so beautiful. Like the houses that are tucked away in like the little woods, and you've got like just old barns, and it's just
gorgeous down here.
It is
beautiful.
Gorgeous. Yeah. So another thing too, Lane mentioned we're in his dining room. If we sound a little echoey or anything, forgive us. We're still kind of figuring out all of our new microphones, and
as is the Mike Wiz. He's been on it. He's been tinkering with it.
Yeah. For about 5 hours before we started this podcast. So
no, I wasn't keeping time.
Yeah, right. Absolutely not.
Right. I just threw a wink at the camera. But yeah.
Okay, cool. So let's just talk about who we are, how we know each other, how we grew up, and then just brief introductions. We're going to share our stories, basically our Middle Earth or our Tolkien stories and experiences later on, how we got into it, our first experiences there. But we're going to do that later on after we go over the format of the show. Yeah.
So,
Lane, take it away, buddy. Who are you? Where are you from? What's the deal? How do we know each other?
Yeah, my name is Lane Smith.
Yeah.
I'm from mostly Ohio for most of my life. Lived in Chicago as a kid, and then we moved here to Ohio because of family. Never really felt like it was home for the longest time. But something that helped change that was, as I grew older, finding really good friends that are, like, for lack of a better term, family. So, and Ezra is one of those people for sure. He's like, I consider him a brother. I think, did you mention that?
Yeah.
I just had my first baby with my beautiful wife.
No, yeah. That's
so, but baby Winnie will call him Uncle Ez.
Come on.
So we knew each other when we were young. We played baseball together and stuff, but never really interacted much. We didn't, paths didn't cross. We were in orchestra. That's right. I didn't like orchestra though.
How long were you in orchestra for? Do you remember?
I was done in elementary school. So
really?
Ez
I thought
was
you were in middle school. No?
Nah.
Okay.
Yeah, I was until 8th grade. I didn't like orchestra. Ez loved orchestra. He was really good. I wasn't I never practiced. So we didn't really, and we were in different grades, so we didn't practice at the same time. So I didn't interact as much that way. It was mostly like a little in high school, but not much. It was college. We really got really close in college. We went to Mount Vernon Nazarene University, where
Cougars.
That's right, man. Watch out for them Cougars. So we're both intervention specialists. We're both teachers,
right?
And so going through early childhood classes, we were like pretty much the only two guys.
Oh yeah.
So that's really how we bonded too. It was almost kind of like we were forced to be each other's friend at first. Not really, but like we had no. If we weren't friends, we weren't going to be friends with anybody.
No, true.
Like it was just you and me.
Yeah, it was just.
But luckily, we were matched perfectly as buds, and so, and we. I mean, I had been obsessed with Tolkien for like 10 years at that point. Same for you.
Yep.
And so that was something we talked about because that's just who we are.
Yep. Found a common interest.
Common interest. That's right. Along with sports and stuff, but Tolkien was just kind of pervasive throughout everything.
Right.
And so for best buds in college, we both graduated and got jobs teaching, and kind of had and life happens, right? And so we we were always keeping tabs on each other. And I think we text each other at like holidays and stuff, but didn't have run-ins. And I moved down here, and you moved to Columbus, so we were kind of not far away, but different worlds.
Right. Yeah.
But it was after it's when I found Rebel Watch, and I started listening to you, and I was like,
you shot me a couple.
Yeah, I was like, man, you guys sound really good. It's so cool to like see you and hang out with you, even though you're on my TV, you're not in my living room.
One of the things you said that always struck me was like, you're like, dude, it's like I'm sitting right across the table.
It really is, and that's what I love about your podcast is because you feel like you're talking.
But then in my head, it clicked. I was like, why isn't Lane sitting right across the table from me?
Yeah.
And now he is.
It's because episode 1 is my favorite Star Wars film. That's why. I love J.R.R. That's why.
That's probably why.
But we started, it was this summer. I was like, man, just come down here. I want to see you. So you came down to Lancaster and we met, we had coffee and we just kind of caught up on life and caught up and everything. And before you know it, I guess like 3 weeks ago you were here and we hadn't caught up since then. Well, we did trivia trials. But we hadn't caught up in person really since then. And
we had texted more and things like that and stuff. But
we were just sitting there. I don't know who said it first.
I think it was you.
Dude, I think it was you. I think we did it at the same time. Man. I think it just kind of simultaneously we were inspired by the spirit of Tolkien and it kind of burst out. Amen. Like we were speaking in tongues or something.
That's right.
And then we were like, what if we did a Lord of the Rings podcast? Because the announcement had just happened that Amazon got the rights for the TV show.
That's right.
And we were like, and it not that Tolkien's ever irrelevant, but it somehow was like, okay, Middle Earth is going to be even more relevant again, and we can reflect on stuff that's already happened and look to the future of hopefully more like some of the license to Tolkien being available more, and hopefully people being able to have creative license with that.
Yeah, because how old were we when the films were coming out?
2001 is when Fellowship came out. I was
2001.
12.
Yeah.
13. Okay. So yeah,
that makes sense. Yeah. So I mean now this is like we had The Hobbit.
Yep.
Which was how many years ago was that?
That was in
just a couple.
Yeah, and in 14, 12, 13, 14.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had that going on. But, like, this is, like, I guess, now that we've been, like, settled into life for a little bit, it's sort of like this is the next big Middle Earth, Lord of the Rings type thing that's come along. So
13, 14, 15, I think it was. I don't know the Hobbit years.
Yeah, that's fine. No.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah. But, yeah, you're right. It's the next big thing to come along. And I kind of thought it was going to be done, honestly. So this made it relevant again. So that's
cool.
How I know you.
Yeah.
How do you know me?
Yeah. So,
Is that gonna be the same story?
Same story. Yeah. So I won't go as long. No, but so I do remember Lane from like baseball. We played some baseball together and orchestra and different things like that. And so we always I was a grade ahead of Lane. So my sister was in his grade. So I always knew who he was, and he was a jerk back then. He's a jerk now.
Right. Once a jerk, always a jerk.
Yeah.
For sure.
For sure. So no, we always got along out there. I don't ever remember us not getting along or whatever. And then it just sort of like when we got to college or whatever, it was like, bang, man. Like we were, I don't know.
Yeah, I almost kind of remember feeling too, like, why weren't we closer friends before?
Oh yeah.
You almost kind of bang your head against the wall and think, well, did we waste,
yeah, like
time we could have been friends.
We had conversations back then and it was just sort of, I think it was that. Because what's weird is like when you're in high school, like those 1 grade separations like mean a lot, right? Like you're always sticking with your class.
Yeah,
and it's just kind of.
Yeah,
I even see that as a high school teacher. I'm just sort of like, wait a second, you're a sophomore, that person's a junior. You guys don't talk
it's
because
the pack
of
mentality.
Yeah,
you stay with
weird.
the pack. Yeah.
So I don't know. Yeah, it kind of goes away in college, but yeah. So same thing. We played some intramural basketball together.
That's right.
Good.
Yeah, that's right.
What was it?
Northside Hustlers, baby.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Northside Hustlers. So we had that defeated party. Remember?
Yeah, we did
when we were freshmen.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Man,
wasn't good.
But anyway, so yeah, so college was a lot of fun, and then like Lane said, just life happens and different things, and then man, it was like so we couldn't stop talking to each other when we saw each other at the coffee shop. Man, I didn't want that day to end.
Like we're kids on Christmas right now, and it's almost like we're just like little high schoolers on our first date or something.
I know, isn't it weird?
In a weird way.
It's great.
Can you strike that from the record?
It's great. Yeah,
can we edit that part out?
Hell.
No, we just love being together. We're buds, and we have a lot in common, and this is something we've wanted to do for a long time. Me kind of more like not really realizing it, and you having had the past year of working on this, and so it's cool. This is going to be a fun way to create something together. So
yeah, it's an art. We get to create something. We get to sort of hopefully build a little bit of a community going into.
That's right.
Hopefully a really cool TV series, and then really you had said this before, getting people back into reading Tolkien.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, that's my biggest hope for the show, actually, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later.
We can go into more.
Yeah, that's when we have like goals for what we want this podcast to be. That is my number one. I want. Yeah.
So I think that's cool. We'll talk about that more.
Yeah.
I think now we should probably just go over the show and like the format of the show. That's cool for people because trying to be structured, but
and we're gonna have normal channel stuff, but we're also gonna have a lot of content on Patreon.
That's right.
Yep. So when I said it's like it feels like we've been working on it feels like we've been working on this podcast for a long time.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we have so much laid out that we're gonna do.
Yeah.
But reality it's only been like 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
That's
I know.
Insane.
It's insane. I know.
So we do have a good chunk, and we can go into detail, or we can just kind of give like the hash marks of what it's going to look like. But so we're gonna go ahead.
Well, so we'll talk about the typical, just like what we're gonna do a show every fortnight.
Fortnight.
Yeah.
Bring it back that language, baby. Yeah. 2 weeks, right? So, 14 nights. Fortnight. Exactly. Yes.
So that'll be fun. I think. And we're going to make them hopefully longer episodes. This first one might be short, might be long. I have no idea. We had no real time frame for mini meetings.
No.
Just because we didn't really know how this is our first, I don't know, it's our first time podcasting together. Right. So, but we're hoping like the next episode 2 will be, we're going to go over chapter 1 and it'll be more of a reread, but it's also going to have segments before the reread and then segments after the reread. So
so we're going to, and we'll do stuff like, no, it's perfect. We're going to do a quick council where we catch up and you'll get to know us. We'll talk 2 or 3 minutes. We might even start a timer. Maybe we'll set some kind of timer.
We probably should.
And it'll be us just like, it'll be our personal lives. We'll talk about how we're doing. So no Middle Earth talk for the first 3 minutes.
Right.
You get to know us as podcasters, and we'll get to know you as listeners.
Or just even a quick comment on what's happening in the world. Yeah. You know, like if that happens to be a big deal or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know.
Yeah, totally. So, we'll just catch up. It'll be like we'll be sitting down at the pub getting into it.
That's right.
That's what it'll be.
I like it.
And then we're gonna talk. We'll talk rumors about the show for sure.
Yes.
Because there's gonna be a lot of speculation. All we really know now, well, we don't really know anything. It's not confirmed, but what people are speculating is it's going to be the 60-year gap between the end of The Hobbit and the beginning of The Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. That's all we've heard out there. We don't know if it's true. As thinks maybe and heard maybe that we might go back to the Second Age, which would be sweet because then we could hear or we could see Sauron at his peak. Right. I mean, there's all kinds of direction you can go there. If you stay in that 60-year gap, you could create characters. You could use existing characters.
Yeah, you could. It would be kind of cool to see or to hear rumors of, like, especially if you did the 60-year gap thing, right? Uh-huh. You could hear rumors of things that are happening in different places, and that's
I think they could do it with more subtlety than like The Hobbit pulled off.
Yeah, way more.
We're going to talk about.
Like subtlety's got to be.
Yeah, we're going to talk about huge. More later, but like not without Winks being obviously thrown at the camera, like
right.
Strider. He calls himself Strider. Right. That's Gimler. We lied.
Lane's got some issues with
no, you know what though? And we're going to go over that. That's another episode format that we're going to do too. So so we'll talk about we'll be dropping eaves and talking rumors.
Yeah, so we're giving you guys segment headings. So a quick counsel is just that 2 to 3 minute thing.
Yeah.
Dropping eaves is sort of just our rumor mill, what's going on with the show.
And then real quick, we'll do a Today in Middle Earth, if anything happened in Middle Earth. And then we're going to get into our body of the show, which for the rereads will be the reread. That'll be the meat potatoes of the episode. Will be us going over not only narrative but then also thematic stuff that's happening, connecting it to what's happened in the past, what might happen in the future, characterization stuff.
Well, it's also things that we like, because I read this when I was much younger. And so going back, sometimes I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
It'll be a cool. I was thinking about that too when I was reading the other night. I'm like, this is I'm coming at it with it's almost cool that there's been a bit of gap of me reading. There's a whole new perspective I'm bringing to these stories, or I'm not what the stories are bringing to me. I guess my perspective is different, and so it's giving me something different. So
yeah, for sure. And so I'm hoping so basically the meat and potatoes of the episode is going to be.
I think it's pronounced potatoes.
Potatoes is going to be this. Basically, we're going to start with a summary of the chapter.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll start with a summary, and then we will have some major talking points, kind of talk about things that happen. We're looking for, theme. We're looking for, we're going to talk about everything. Hopefully like Tolkien style, like alliteration, tone, all the different things that he does.
Devices he uses, which are amazing. Yep.
So that'll be a lot of fun.
For sure.
And
it's going to be the way you put it perfectly. I want to bring that back up again because you worded it perfectly. It's a book club.
It is.
It's a book club for us, and it can be a book club for you. So it's an open invitation, and you can do it in the comfort of your home or while you're driving to work. Plug it in, and
we've already got a few people who are interested in it and are going to participate with us and actually read it chapter by chapter as we go.
Yeah.
We're going to start off with just one chapter every fortnight, but we might go to more. But I think for right now, it's just one chapter. It kind of gives us real time to just digest it and
we don't want to breeze through it, do we? We want to take our time.
No, I want to sit. I mean, like, good Lord, like chapter 1, I could barely. It pained me to move on.
You don't want to leave the Shire.
No,
that's what we were talking about.
Yeah, I know.
It's like
so
and that is also the awesome thing about the books is and I was telling you this earlier. Like in the films, right? There's a determined amount of time you spend that you can watch the Shire, that you can spend in Gondor. Like you read those books, and you can pace yourself. You can take as much time in the Shire as you want. If you want to walk around, and then you take what's on the page and you let your imagination take you even further. And it's just, and then you've got appendices that elaborate on what you loved about the book and give backstory and tell what happens after. And that's the beauty of reading the books. So it'll be an awesome book study for us and for everyone listening. And we're going to have people's input as well. Right. We talked about that. We're not exactly sure how we're going to do it, but we want people sharing their experiences with Tolkien, why they love Middle Earth, I don't know, their favorite character, what it's meant to them.
Well, so even like one of the things that we'll probably throw out as we get through the body of it and we get towards the end of the show, especially next fortnight.
Yep.
We will have we're going to post something. Facebook's where we would like to sort of I guess, because podcasting, it's hard to. We can't really see comments below this podcast or what have you. It's easier to go to Facebook and sort of get on there and create sort of a community. So we want people on there. We'll start a thread and basically just have a discussion. What did we miss? What was something cool that you noticed? And share those things, because there's so much. People have done so many different studies on these things, and there's so much stuff out there. And also, we're not going to delude ourselves, or we're not going to go look up all those different references and things. We want to get a real organic look at each chapter.
We're giving our impressions. We'll give what it meant to us as a reader. We're by no means we don't want anyone to think we're coming at it as an authority on Tolkien.
No.
We're just huge super fans that love the books, and so that's the perspective we're coming from. So I think that's most people.
It is, and one of the things that we teach our kids is that we want our kids to connect with the text. So that text to self connection.
Yep.
And everyone can do that. So when you read something, I was telling you the other day, on the way to my Christmas party, I'm listening to, chapter 1, and I'm like, oh my God, this is I was just so happy by the time I got there, and it sort of really just fit with, me going to my own party, you know what I mean? So I don't know. And there's different things that will come up in chapters that relate or remind you of things in your own life, so that'll be kind of cool to comment on. And we want to hear you guys comment on those things too. So
start a big conversation.
Yeah.
Or really continue the conversation that's been going, I guess, right? I mean, Tolkien's inspired conversation since
for years.
The trenches.
And that's sort of the thing, when you look at why are you guys going back in and doing a Middle Earth podcast? Because that's the great thing. You can with books and literature, timeless, you can go back. Yeah,
it's timeless. Yep.
And it's I had
classic.
as a young guy, growing up, just my the images that I had of Middle Earth when I was younger, and then I got the movies, and then now I get to go back again. It just keeps changing. It keeps evolving into something more, and so it's neat to kind of see that world develop in your mind.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
for sure, man.
Your mind's eye.
Yeah.
So once we get done with sort of the meat and potatoes of the show, the reread, then we're gonna do just a little. Oh, I love this, the Bywater post.
Yeah.
That's actually
you like
really
that?
I love that. So just questions that you guys might have, answering any emails that we get or messages. If you guys leave any cool comments or theories on our Facebook, then we want to talk about those things. The one thing I've always believed as a podcaster is that I want people who are listening to feel like you can influence the show and that you have some stake in the show.
Yep, totally.
because like you will, when I read your comment on Facebook, or if there's something really cool and meaningful there, that's getting shared here. I mean, and the more of those, the better, you know? So,
and it transcends being our podcast to our podcast.
Right.
It's for all of us.
Exactly.
So that's,
that's exactly what it should be. And it's because, again, this is something that Tolkien created for us. You know, he created for everybody, not just, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
So it needs to be that way.
Yeah.
I feel
and
like.
we were both, me more so because I've never podcasted before, but like as a listener, I know things that I want a podcast to do.
Yeah.
And you listened before you started podcasting too. And we will not forget that. We'll never forget that. Like, and that's honestly, I think it's going to shape, it already has.
Yeah,
what we're going to do, what we want to do with this podcast is like, think about what we would want if we were just on the other side listening. And it would be to not feel like we're just on the other side listening. We like, as listeners of podcasts, we like to, like you said, have influence in the show, feel like we have a voice in the show. Yeah. And it's just another way for people to connect. So yeah,
absolutely.
Cool.
So, Bywater Post is a time for us to kind of do that, to bring those stories in, answer some questions, check the mail, and do what have you there. What is this next one?
Well, we'll have little bits. We're not going to, let's not name them.
Let's not name that. Okay.
Let's not name these. We're going to have little bits along the way too, because Ez and I like to have fun. We like to bring humor to it too. Yeah. We're not going to take ourselves too seriously. I think Tolkien would appreciate that. There's a lot of humor in Lord of the Rings.
Right.
And so we're going to have little bits, to use a British and Kiwi term, little segments that are more just for like fun entertainment.
Yeah. I like that. It's a good way to put it.
So yeah.
Cool. And that's basically, that kind of wraps up the format of the show. At the end, we'll just do our farewell and our sign off and things like that. But
do you want to talk about some of the ideas we have for additional episodes?
Yes, for Patreon.
Yeah. So some of these we don't know if they'll be available only on Patreon. Is it okay if I say this? Or if they'll be like a special show that we'll do on the channel.
Yep, absolutely.
But we're gonna do things. We're gonna do like Battle for Middle Earth. Actually, hang on a second. We don't have a name for this one yet. It's either gonna be Middle Earth Smackdown, Battle on the Bridge, or Battle for Middle Earth, and that will consist of, that'll be both informational and humorous. That's gonna be me and Ez. We're gonna have, let's say, the Hobbit trilogy versus the Lord of the Rings trilogy, or we'll have Bilbo versus Frodo.
Right.
And the whole point is that you got to prepare for both.
Yep.
You've got to have pros and cons for Frodo as a hero, pros and cons for Bilbo as a hero. And we're going to come here the day of the podcast. We're going to flip a ring.
Yep.
And whoever wins the ring toss gets to pick who they want to defend /
argue for.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it's going to be literally we may have a little bit of ale from the Green Dragon.
Yeah, we might.
To kind of fuel things a little bit. But it'll just be no holds barred cage match of pros and cons for those characters. And I think it'll be funny. I think it'll be cool. We'll be less. That'll be so. I think our book club's going to be very like focused and very formal. Not very formal, but like more formal. And this will be a cool like informal interaction.
Yeah, sort of laid back.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
And what's cool about that is that like if you have a character that you sort of like really like, and then you all of a sudden you hear like me doing a piss poor job of like arguing for Gandalf. You're like, are you serious?
Or poking holes in Gandalf. Gandalf's got some flaws, baby.
Okay, or that.
Gandalf's got some flaws.
Or that.
No one's safe.
But it's sort of we all kind of gravitate to different people in the books or the characters, and so it's kind of, it'll be fun to kind of pit them, or the different styles in the movies or what have you. We have a whole list of topics, but that could be something that we either are going to put on. We haven't determined yet whether it's on Patreon or on the main shows or series, but it probably will be longer. So I think we might put it on Patreon. Is where we're kind of leaning. But what were some of your other ideas though? We had
so we're going to do that. The Middle Earth Smackdowns. You are going to do like a wizard study. Ezra is going to dive into the world of wizards. You're going to call it Wandering with the Wizards, right?
Yeah, Wandering Wizards. And basically just look at. It's really cool to sort of just dive into, I don't know, like just to know more about them, really, and where do they travel? What's their role? Where do they come from? Which is interesting.
And you really got to go into those other texts to figure all that stuff out, man.
You will not get that from like just the Lord of the Rings series and stuff.
You get bits and pieces, but not a comprehensive view. So Ezra, you're gonna
that's some what I call deep and sweaty. That's gonna be
mine in the depths.
Mine in the depths.
Yep,
that's
mine
right.
in deep, baby.
So,
delving deep.
Yeah, so that's gonna be fun, and I just like the Wizards. I think that they've always
it's a natural
attracted
fit.
me. So I thought we would kind of do a little mini series on that. And go from there. So what else do we have?
We're also gonna do a. So I've been lucky enough to go to New Zealand before.
So
Absolutely. We're gonna do kind of
so
like
cool, guys.
there and back again kind of travel travel pod. So for the Middle Earth lover going to New Zealand.
Yeah.
So it's broken down into 9 chapters, and we're going to follow the path of the characters from Lord of the Rings. So from the Shire to Mordor is the order we'll follow. 9 chapters. I'll talk about, I went in college, and then I also went recently with my wife. It was kind of our honeymoon. And so I'll talk about things we did that were in the world of Middle Earth, like directly related to the movies, and then also just kind of places we visited that have no real direct connection, but that are interesting. So if you're thinking about going to New Zealand or you've been there before, it'll be a way to either reminisce and maybe have some input there, or to plan a trip, right? I mean, if you're planning a trip to go, because it's I'll just say it's like an amazing thing to do as a Tolkien fan.
Yeah.
Because every shot you see in those movies was filmed in New Zealand. There's no, it's either in a set or on location in New Zealand. They didn't fly to Africa. There's nothing filmed in the rainforest in Brazil. It is in New Zealand. So and you can find a lot of that stuff, and a lot of it's so accessible. So that's what that'll be. It'll be kind of a following the journey of our fellowship, and just kind of talking about that. And
can I add to that? Because I've often sat here and I've listened to Lane and his wife Sarah.
Yep.
Shout out to Sarah.
Oh, that's coming, man. Okay. She is amazing.
She's amazing. But I've listened to them tell stories about their time there, and I just it blows your mind. So a part of it is if you have no interest in going to New Zealand or whatever. You should at least go listen, I think, to the storytelling of this, and to hear someone talk about what it's like to stand up on this mountain or to walk out of Bag End or whatever is awesome.
And so I guess even if you don't want to go, it might be a good thing to listen to, because it may make you want to go.
Right.
Because you don't have to be a Lord of the Rings fan to enjoy New Zealand.
No,
people go there from all over the world for all kinds of reasons. It's a beautiful place. That's what I'll be doing there with There and Back Again. That'll be a lot. I'm looking forward to that. It's a lot of fun, and we're probably gonna have Sarah on actually some of those episodes. Because she has a way better memory than me, and remembers events in such detail that I want her to help me remind me of all the experiences we had. So we also might do, and again, this could be a standalone on iTunes, or it could be on Patreon, but peeking in the Palantir, sort of the idea that I like that, because that could be we do a small segment where we're dropping eaves and we're listening to things that are happening about the new show. But as we get closer, the predictions and what do we think is going to happen, theories and stuff like that, I think that'll be kind of neat for us to do a little standalone episode, separate from the reread, just to kind of talk about what's happening there.
We
have so many. I just remembered another one. We have so many ideas.
I know
we've been literally texting each other back and forth, what if we did this kind of episode? What if we did this? Another idea that we had, because Tolkien was a avid. He would probably hate right now that we're podcasting. Technology to him was a source of evil. I think he'd be okay with it, because we're God help us. All we're trying to do is honor his spirit in this podcast. That's number one, dude. Right. To honor the spirit of Tolkien, because he was amazing. So, but he loved nature. He was huge. He would take walks. He would go tramp. He'd lose time for tramping as walking, hiking. But he would lose track of time out there. I think he even had, I'd have to double check on this, but I'm pretty sure he's the one who had a best friend, a best tree friend. Wow. He had a tree that he would go sit by and talk to regularly and check in on. Wow. He's my kind of guy, man. That's awesome. he was straight lover of nature. Yeah. So I talked to Ez. I was like, dude, what if we could do a couple of cool things. We could be inspired by nature and also promote some really beautiful, we're blessed down here in, the whole state of Ohio, but southeastern Ohio, we have Hocking Hills. We have Clear Creek Metro Park, which is a metro park from Columbus. We have Wayne National Forest. We have Salt Fork I think a state preserve in eastern Ohio, and there's stuff up in northern. It's all over Ohio. So all these beautiful trails that we could hike. So I said, what if we went out and we took our phone or something? We made it less formal. We hit record as we're hiking or as we take a break from hiking. We talk about the trail that we're on. We talk about how Tolkien was inspired by what was around him, and just let what we're seeing kind of influence our conversation. It might be kind of cool. You could take a hike with us, kind of thing.
It sounds kind of organic, my friend.
It does.
So
I like that. And I think Tolkien would be in favor of that, because not everything has to be a big production. Not everything has to be quote unquote important. Right. And so it might just be a kind of, and then also, we'll be able to map out some really, if you're in Ohio or the area, and it could even grow from there. We could go out to Pennsylvania. We go down to West Virginia. We go out to Kentucky. And really kind of
the Appalachian Trail. I've got friends who hit that up all the time. That would be unbelievable.
Maybe someday we're hiking in New Zealand.
Yeah, that would be amazing.
There.
Actually, I am planning on it.
So that's what we could, and I got to be there, bro, for that.
Yeah.
And so what we could do too is we could even review these trails for you. It could be kind of a twofold thing: talking Tolkien and reviewing some awesome places to go hike and be inspired.
And again, that's just additional stuff that that's why it would be on Patreon.
Yeah.
And it's just stuff that
it fits.
And again, guys, another thing, we've mentioned Patreon multiple times. You're probably like, okay, guys, what the heck? What's the deal here? Right. The idea is that it's just a way, if you like the episodes, and this is down the road. I mean, if we can get this off the ground and we start doing a decent job,
should we just stop now?
Should we just stop?
Turn the mics off.
Shut it down.
Too much fun.
Shut it down. But if people enjoy the community and things like that, it would be a huge help. I mean, because it's not just the equipment and the things that you buy, the setup and stuff is a little bit of an investment, but it is, so that's just a way for you guys to give back, support. It's also a way for us to continue to be artists and creators and to create more things for you. Lane was talking about possibly doing water painting, right?
Yeah. Watercolors and like
each
so
month,
for us,
maybe.
So for a level of Patreon, I say that I'll do Lord of the Rings inspired sketches, and we'll post some of that too. Like, it's not going to be
not exclusive.
I'm supporting you on Patreon, and I have no idea if this dude's gonna draw something I like. Like, we would give examples of the kind of stuff that we would give at that level. Yeah. And so you can just make an informed decision. We don't want anybody just to, unless you just want to support us because you enjoy us. Like, that's cool too. So
cool.
Yeah, we'll have like little bonuses that we'll throw in because we want to thank people that support us too, because like we said, this is like so much fun for us.
Yeah, really.
And we even said if no one listens, we're still going to keep doing it.
Oh yeah, guys.
Like,
There's no stopping it.
No.
There's no stopping it. So
we'll be crazy hermits.
Well, the main thing for me, the most exciting part about this is the reread.
Yeah.
So that's the part that you just
the book club, man.
It's the book club, and so that's what it's all about. The extra stuff, whatever it is, what it is. Like, if you're interested, cool. If not, completely fine. Because we just want this every fortnight, and then like as we get closer to that show, we're gonna be dropping some cool stuff. I think the leading into it.
The other one too is Drinking at the Dragon.
Yeah,
we want to do like a drinking game podcast.
Yeah.
So we don't know exactly how it's going to work yet. Right. If it'll be when we say certain words or you say certain words or you hear certain words, but we want to do kind of like a drinking podcast game.
That'd be cool.
So sorry, I just thought of that. I remember that one. We've got a lot of irons in the fire.
Lane's the idea guy.
Come on, dude.
I mean, he has so many ideas. It's great. You gotta write them down.
You're a wizard with those mics. Gosh. They're written down. We got them.
Okay.
You just gotta read them.
Good. Okay. Oh,
burned by the fireworks.
Let me get what did you call these earlier? My spectacles.
I think more like binoculars.
Didn't you call them trinoculars? What did you call them?
I don't think so.
What did you call them?
We could go. You might need 3 layers. If you're a fan of Rebel Watch, though, you know that usually Mike will sell as out and let us all know that the 54-inch screen is right in front of him and he's still squinting.
Can't see it.
So yeah.
Oh. But hey, okay, so that's just a rundown of sort of like the ideas, and again, this is just a welcome episode to sort of get to know us, get to know our direction, our thought, our goals, what we want to do. So this might be boring you. We apologize.
Yeah, it's a lot of information to unpack.
Yeah, it is. So, but I think now the cool part, at least for me, is to kind of share our Tolkien experiences. This is where I get a little, might get a little choked up here. This is good stuff.
I know it is good stuff. I think because yours is going to be so.
Well, they're both
substantial.
They're both good.
We don't have to do that, dude. Okay, we don't have to be politically correct. Okay. Your stories are amazing.
Wow.
And the way you get into all this stuff is just beautiful. So I can go first, so I don't have to try and cry talking through mine. Okay. Is that okay with you?
That's fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just sound like a jerk there. I'll take the first one as you can sit on the bench.
Yeah, you'll learn.
If you want to go first, you can.
Absolutely not, man. I want you to go first.
Because I want yours is the cherry on the top. Mine's just. mine's whatever.
Unique.
I was ignorant, so I was an ignoramus to the world of Middle Earth, the world of Tolkien. The first time I heard about the Lord of the Rings was, I think it was for a Burger King commercial. Do you remember the Burger King? They must have had some kind of promo. I don't know. I was 12 years old. I don't remember exactly. They must have had some kind of special promo thing going on with Lord of the Rings, because they had these like glass goblets that you could buy at Burger King.
Yep.
And so anyway, that was the first. That was Middle Earth being smacked in my face via commercialism. So thank you for advertising.
Yeah, thanks.
But I was like, come on. It's like, I was a huge sports boy. I thought sports were the only cool things. I hadn't discovered the wild side of myself, of mythology and stories and being pulled into that, right? I just thought sports was the only thing that was cool. So I was ignorant. I was a little jerk. So I saw that commercial. I'm like, oh, a bunch of dweebs, Lord of the Rings. What an idiot I was.
Right.
So Christmas time came along. Obviously, Fellowship was released on December 19th, which is actually my daughter's birthday.
Yeah,
which is
crazy.
Amazing.
That is
so
crazy.
Another like nugget.
Right.
Okay. So I'll get back to my story, but I want to thank my beautiful wife Sarah and my gorgeous daughter Winnie, because like, let's be real. This is like, for us to be able to do this, it takes some time.
Yeah.
It's a commitment, and so they're allowing me to do that. And my wife has always been my dream catcher. She always lets me chase after crazy, weird, wild ideas, and so I want to thank them so much. So, and I love them to the bottom of my heart.
Right.
With all my heart, whatever. So I'm getting choked up. So anyway, December 19th it came out. I remember going at Christmas time with my Uncle Joe, my Uncle Scott, my cousin Preston, and my dad.
Yeah.
And we saw it in Premier Theaters in Mount Vernon, Ohio.
Lord.
Pre-refab. It was pretty ridiculous.
Bad. Yeah.
So if you're from Mount Vernon, you know what we're talking about.
Right.
Yeah, I think there were some people making out in every corner of the building.
I bet there was.
So I remember going in and thinking like, okay, well, I'll give this a shot, right? And it was the first time I vividly remember thinking, wow. Like the first time I ever saw a movie, and I'd always loved movies growing up as a kid, but it was like such a masterful telling of a story that drew you in. It's full of magic, incredible acting, and just made you want more. And I was literally, for lack of a better term and lack of blathering, I was mesmerized, right? I was sucked in, and I loved every second of that first time I saw it. It was amazing. So I remember going through and being so captivated, and then, the Fellowship breaks, and you see, spoiler alert, in case you haven't seen the movies, you see Sam and Frodo hiking off, and I didn't realize that it would have been 3 hours. I was that, as a 13-year-old boy, I was that mesmerized, 12, 13, whatever I was. Right. And they walk off and the credits roll up, and I'm like, what the hell?
Yeah. Yeah.
I was like, what is going on? I said, we got out, the lights went up, we go out, and I really have to thank my Uncle Joe, because he's the one who suggested we went. He had read the books, and shout out to my Uncle Joe. He's obsessed. Like, we should probably have him on the show at some point. He's awesome. Love him. And I was like, so what happens? The story ends there? You have to wonder if they ever get to Mordor? He goes, no, Lane, it's a trilogy. Yeah. That's just part one. Yeah. And my world was changed. Right. I was like, what? There's 3 parts. There's more to come. So after that, I remember I have the original book right here sitting next to me. That it's the first film version they did with the film photograph on it and everything, and promo for the film. Absolutely. I remember going to Barnes and Noble and Dad buying it for me, and buying it for himself too, because he wanted to read. He had never read the books either, so he started reading it too. And read the books before 2 and 3. Was even more blown away, right? Because the films are one thing, and they are a beautiful capture of the spirit. That's right. But to read the books, it's a different, better experience. It is better. Yeah. It's just more enriched. Yeah. It's more enhanced. It's like the movies in HD or 4K, I guess now. Right. So read the books, was obsessed. Dude, I even have I'm an Aragorn guy. He's my all-time favorite character. Love Aragorn. When I'm having a hard time, I asked myself, WW80, what would Aragorn do? So that's how much I connected with this story and these characters.
Right.
Obsessed over it, loved it. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty much how I came to it. There's no real backstory other than it caught me off guard. It was, again, an unexpected adventure, an unexpected journey that I had no idea even existed. And then I really got into like Tolkien and like learning about him as a person. And he was such a fascinating human being, like how World War I shaped him, and how he was in love with words and was a philologist, and the name came first and then the character came from the meaning of the name. Just such a thoughtful, creative, genius dude. And we use genius a lot now, like we throw it around like it's butter, but like he, without that word being cheapened, he is absolute genius. I agree. And so actually there's also some biopics coming out about Tolkien. We forgot to say, we're going to review those. We're going to go watch those and review those too. So that's my story with Tolkien. Now let's get into the real emotional half, where we hear about your connection to Middle Earth, my friend.
No, yeah, and I think I remember so like after remember when we were talking about our college experience, right? And how basically, we hit it off right away talking about the Fellowship. Yeah. And so like I knew Lane had struck a chord with him, and like he had this underneath, I guess. Like I don't know that it wasn't like you were trying to hide it, but you were a super fan, like a super fan. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh my God, like.
Well, I think my obsession kind of freaks people out sometimes. Like I am so obsessed with, I love the Fellowship, the friendship they have, and all of it. So yeah.
Well, it's great, and I think it's sort of what because I was also sort of obsessed, and I was like, oh wow, this is cool, like So, anyways, but my story started when I was in sixth grade, and I sort of grew up like, I don't know, like my mom is super book smart. My dad is a great guy. He's a minister. So he reads he's book smart. He reads the good book. The good book. Amen. Yep. And so anyways, I'm also a little bit of a rebel too, just so you guys know. So I ought to go to church more on Sunday, but I just more spiritual now than I am anything. Yeah. So, but I grew up sort of like I don't know how this happened. Like I'm a great reader now, and I love to read, and and what have you. But like, I struggled with reading when I was in elementary school, and I think it was just because of situations with my family. I just wasn't exposed to a lot of literature. They were always working, things like that, or what have you. And so I kind of got behind. And my sister is full-blown. She has dyslexia, and my dad does too. My mom does it. So I always consider myself sort of like a hybrid dyslexic, which is not really a thing. But, so anyways, I had struggled or whatever. And remember we had accelerated reader points? Yeah. Yeah, so we had accelerated reader points, which were these points that you had to get in like your English class each quarter of school. And I'm in the library, I'm struggling with reading or whatever, and at this point I'm in sixth grade at the Mount Vernon Middle School, and I believe her name was Mrs. Frank, and she was our librarian. Yeah. And so she just like one day she was asking me, what do you like? And I
it's always the librarians, isn't it?
It's great.
Librarians have such
it's something.
They're like the gate master.
I know.
Gatekeeper, whatever.
It was unbelievable. And so she starts asking me about, what I like, and she starts to tell me this story. And she's like, do you like grand adventures, knights, and she was listing all sorts of dwarves and elves and magic and all this stuff, and I was like, whoa, yes, please, that's awesome.
Check.
Because I was I couldn't really use a Star Wars book because I had read a bunch of Star Wars books before that, like small ones, I guess, like junior readers, right? Yeah. And I was trying to find something that would get me a lot of accelerated reader points, but The Hobbit was above my reading level technically. And so, but she was just like, well, if you're really into it and you really think you can do it, I mean, it's worth like hundreds of accelerated reader points. Right. So I could read one book instead of like 7, right?
And enjoy it.
Right. Yeah. And so I started reading The Hobbit, and man, I just, like, if I didn't know a word, I would go ask. I would look it up, and I would like highlight it. I would even do my own little pronunciation, in the book. And I should track down. I think it's in my box of like things that my mom
have it.
Boxed away.
You got it. Yeah. Great literature is the best teacher.
Well, what happened is so I rented that one from the library, and I started to kind of to do that or whatever. And my mom saw that I was so much into reading. She said, "I'll just buy it from the library." Like just
that's sweet.
Yeah, no. So it was almost like
awesome.
she saw that I was really into it, and so to the point where we weren't allowed to to read a book like that in church. Mom was like, "No, you can keep reading."
Right.
Like in the back of the church, like I'm supposed to be paying attention to the sermon, but I'm like in sixth grade, and she's like letting me, read,
awesome. Yeah.
And she's like, "It's for school, it has to happen, right?"
Yeah.
So I'm reading this book, and I'm just falling in love with it, and I like aced the quiz for accelerated reader points, and I was good, and everyone's like, "What, you're done with your books?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm going on to the next one for like next year for like seventh grade."
Wow.
And then so I went on to Fellowship of the Ring, and then so on, and I just kind of kept going. And my mom was a big part of that, a big push, and she was into like sci-fi stuff and fantasy and different things. And man, when those movies came out, like
you were ready, weren't you?
I was ready to go. And my mom took me to those. It was one of her favorite things. She loved it. My dad, who isn't really into that kind of stuff, right, loves the movies. Anytime they're on, we got to stop. We got to watch them. And
dude, that's what those movies do. Like people who aren't into that kind of stuff,
right,
love the movies. It's so deep. It goes beyond just a genre. Yeah,
it does. They did an excellent job, because that's sort of like some people's portal and gateway into Tolkien's writings. And boy, what a great door to have to walk into those.
Yeah.
So,
absolutely.
Anyways,
it was mine.
Yeah, and it is for a lot of folks. I mean, I actually think one of the reasons it was suggested to me was because this librarian knew that this was coming.
Yeah.
It was in the, what I mean?
Probably.
As a youngster, we're not paying attention to what's coming up in the next couple of years or what's in production, right, for movies and things. It just came out, and we were like, what just hit us in the face,
Yeah.
So I think that's part of why that happened for me as well. But, so, and then my mom, a couple of years ago, one of the reasons why Lane and I sort of kind of, life happened. Like I've said that multiple times. My mom passed away a couple years ago, and so life got really hard. And life is what it is. It was sort of my mid-20s, right? And cancer hits, and she's gone. And I remember then The Hobbit was coming out, and she didn't get to finish, watching that series, right? Yeah. And my dad made it a huge point that we go watch, and finish the series and watch it and things like that. Wow. And it's just, little things. Like I know it might be weird, but like talking to mom and telling mom, how they were, up at the up on the hill, at the gravesite. And so it's stuff like that. And when I read them, I think back to those times, right? You think back, and I'm like, I can remember when I would go tell mom, like one of the best memories I have is I would go back and I would tell mom what was happening. So I had to give her an update and a summary, right? She basically. So
you were training for the podcast.
Yeah,
that's what you're doing,
right? Yeah. She had read them. I mean, she knew it was going to happen, right? Wow. But she wanted to hear me kind of summarize them and go through it, and she would help me. Like
she's your Jedi master.
Yeah,
man.
she was like, "What do you think's happening next? What do you think's going to happen?" Yeah, or she would even say, "Oh, I bet they're going to do this or that, or magic." We would talk about what magic is and how it works and stuff. God,
what a beautiful
just
woman.
Cool things like that. So that was my, and then like the movies came out and other things sort of like I read those. I had read them again in college. I think because of you. I had delved back into reading some of that. And then later on in life, my buddy Tom introduced me to audiobooks, which changed my life because I was driving 50 minutes to work and I listened to them one more time. But I take that back because really what I listened to is The Hobbit. And so for me, the Lord of the Rings series, like I think I've read it twice, and The Hobbit I've read like 3 or 4 times, so I don't know. This for me is going to be a lot of. It's going to be good to get back into that. Those 3, right? The trilogy. So, yeah, man. I don't know.
So if they're not through a box of Kleenex right now, there's something.
No, well, no.
Something wrong with them. But that's a beautiful story, man.
It's life, and it's just sort of how all of this can connect and how it can.
It's bigger than a book.
Yeah,
it really is.
Well, and it's also just like there's times where you walk into a room and you have a smell and it takes you back to a certain memory or whatever. Yep. I read a certain line and I can think back to a conversation I had, and it's like, wow, cannot believe that. It's experiences is what it is. Yeah. So
Beautiful.
So there it is, man. Beautiful. There's the story.
Yeah, that's right, dude.
But we want to hear, your stories. I mean, that's the cool thing is that like we would love to share some of those or read some of those or have you call in.
We're calling it Increase the Inklings.
Yeah.
Right? The group that Tolkien and Lewis and a couple other famous authors and their colleagues were a part of, where they would come and they share their stories, their fantasy stories and their sci-fi stuff, right? And they would share them together. We want that to be the same thing here. We want, like we just shared our stories, we want to hear yours, and we want everyone else to hear yours too. So
and as we go along, like I'm sure I'll think of like different things where we had an experience.
Yeah.
Like my buddy Tom, like oftentimes just watching them and just when we first got the extended edition. Yeah. Like life changing.
Dude, I know, man.
Stuff like that.
When you think it can't get any better, and then the extended editions come.
I know. Yeah. So things like that. There's stories. We're gonna keep telling more stories. We have plenty of them. But we would love to read some of yours and kind of hear what you guys have, or how you got into Tolkien and how it's maybe changed your life for the better.
Absolutely.
So,
all right, Ez, you want to move on to our hopes for the show?
Yeah, hopes for the show. Let's do it.
Absolutely. All right. You want to start us off? You want me to go?
Yeah, I'll start us off, and then you can kind of because you have a really good one there. I mean, I guess my hope is, again, like I said before, to kind of create this community and like a book club essentially, and get to know people who are also interested in Tolkien's writings, because I'm really into Star Wars, which we've said multiple times, and it's you're allowed. I had to tell myself this when I was younger. You're allowed to have more than one fandom.
Okay? Oh yeah, man.
But like
the more the better.
It actually is great. So like I was at a Star Wars Celebration, and when I was there, just to sort of meet other people who I am now like friends with from that convention, because of we shared an experience there, and we had, and now we're still tweeting at each other, talking to each other on Facebook, and they comment on our YouTube videos for Rebel Watch and things like that. So for me, I'm kind of hoping for something similar to that, like an experience where we get to meet some new people who are interested in some of these different things. We've got some interviews planned where we might get a chance to talk to some really cool people from.
Well, one for sure, man.
And that's mind blowing.
Awesome. And the way I see that is, we've just got some gifts for our listeners in the future.
Yeah, Lane knows some people. Go ahead.
We just have some treats. And the cool thing is they're going to be treats for us because we're Uber fans, but we're going to reward our listeners for being a part of for really, I guess, being our friends. Right?
Yeah, you want
to treat your friends right? You want to treat your fellowship the way you want to be treated.
Yeah, they're part of the fellowship. I mean, that's the thing.
That's right.
Yeah, that'll be good. But those are my overall big hopes, I guess.
Beautiful. Yeah. I mean, mine are pretty much the same thing. I was telling you before, and I can't remember if I've said this already in this podcast, because this is this has been awesome. We've just really like opened up. Obviously people have been have read Tolkien like tons throughout the years and the decades, right? Yeah. I mean, in the 20th century. Fellowship of the Ring, Two Towers, and Return of the King were released in the, I think, early mid 50s. So it only had half a century of sales, and in the 20th century, it was second only to the Bible in being the most popular book. So people historically have read Tolkien, but I think there's like this new generation of fans that. Maybe they have read it, maybe they haven't, but like reading isn't as popular as it used to be, obviously. And there's more ways to like connect with books, obviously, with audiobooks, right? Also reading the books, watching shows or movies based on the books. But really what my biggest hope for the show is just to get people to either return to reading Tolkien who have read him before, or maybe are familiar with Middle-earth through the trilogies or whatever, and getting them to like actually experience the books, because it's something to experience and it's valuable, and I don't know, man, it only enhances whatever you know about Tolkien so far, and to realize that there's more than just Lord of the Rings, and there's more than The Hobbit.
Right. That's right.
That's right. Like so many different ways you can go in his world and experience magic.
Like you said, even if it's not just the storytelling, if it's like the way he told the story and the symbolism in the stories, and sort of his wordsmithing and his alliteration, his skill with which he
to experience
he
a master, really.
That's another piece to this. So I like that, getting people back into it, because I teach at the high school level, and I'm in an English classroom, and these kids don't know. they've not read this story. Like that's a bummer, it's just because it's not. I don't know.
It's not. Yeah,
it's not
their fault.
No, they have the movies that they can go to and different things like that. So, but I guess, and it's not something that we're really teaching in schools. Although I think, I might have to finish up my English degree here and actually just go. I
think that's in your Palantir, bro.
It is, man. I know. I might have to just do it.
That's what's coming.
So I could do a little. Actually, just teach it and introduce it to some kids. But
I think so.
I don't know. I'm with you. I want more people to go back and read them, and I'm disappointed that I haven't gone back and read them more.
Well, see, and that's what it's starting with number one, right?
Yeah.
It's starting with me. I'm going to go back and read them. It's as much to keep me disciplined and back into Tolkien as anybody else.
There's so much there that you actually do have to, even when we've read those chapters before, to read them again. And
I almost think Tolkien is ghostwriting. Yeah. Like he's just somewhere and he's tapped into some kind of magic. Maybe he's using the Force. Maybe it's the Holy Ghost. I don't know.
Right.
But he is, because I promise you, the more I read it, the more I think, was that how it was? Or, wow, I missed that. Or that sounds brand new.
Right.
Like, and that's the beautiful thing about his. And I think the greats all do that.
Yeah.
But that's not every book. There are a lot of books I've read where I'm like, once was good. But this is his writings are always. Wow, there's more there.
Yeah,
there's so much more there.
I'll give you a quick example. Not that we want to get into any of the book just yet, but
this is another episode, isn't it?
It probably is. Right. Just real briefly though, like Frodo's dreams, Merry and Pippin's dreams.
Yeah.
When you start to really look at what is happening there, like dreams, they're a little disconnected, and there's just images, right? And it's kind of vague, right? Yeah. But dang, guys. Like the more I read that, I was like, he's got some deep stuff in there.
Oh yeah,
and there's interesting connections and parallels to what's happening around in different places of Middle Earth and just other symbolism.
Yep.
So that's really cool.
Yep.
We want to take a look at that. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
Wow, man. That was a blast, dude.
That was something.
I can keep going. You want to do another one after this?
Yeah, I think we probably should.
Open another one.
I think we probably should.
So, are we ready to sign off? Pretty much.
Yeah, we're ready to sign off. What I want to do though is just real quickly. We've already, just our Facebook real quick.
Yep.
So if you do want to hit us up on Facebook, just go to facebook.com /up Talkin Tolkien, or you can type in @up Talkin Tolkien, and you'll find us on Facebook there. Like the page. Give us a review if you want, or give us some feedback. That'd be kind of cool.
We also have an Instagram account where we're going to be posting photos.
Absolutely.
Updates, maybe even
behind
have
the scenes photos,
polls on there. Sure, yeah,
absolutely. That'd be cool.
Yeah, all kinds of stuff.
So Instagram, Facebook, definitely hit us up there, and that's where we're hoping to create the community. After this episode, we'll have a thread up, just so you guys can go on there and sort of share. We'll title it, Many Meetings, episode 1, and it's a place just to kind of chat about the episode and introduce yourself if you'd like to. So don't be afraid, by the way. Like Lane and I are super easygoing guys, and we want to talk and engage with people. So
yes, we love people.
We do. We really do.
I've been pretty amped for this, to finally begin. Finally, it's only been a couple weeks, dude, but it feels like it's been years.
It feels like it's been building since we were in 6th grade.
Yes,
man.
Yeah, it is a catharsis for sure. But so I'm almost as excited. Or no, I am. I'm more excited to read that thread. So please, if you have anything you want to share, please share it, because we're just as excited or more so to read that thread as we are to do this, and we like doing this a lot. So that's saying a lot.
That's saying a lot for sure.
Well, so we're gonna kind of do our fortnight farewell here. We'll see you in a couple weeks, but we're not recording this on Tolkien's birthday, but we're going to release it.
That's right,
on the birthday of J.R.R. Tolkien, January 3rd. He was born in, oh gosh, I hope I get this right. It's 1892. So he would have been like 119 or something like that.
1892. You're
sure. Right. So anyway, we're going to air this on his birthday. We thought that'd be a cool way to not only start a new year, but to start this podcast kind of in honor of him, and we want to definitely honor his spirit throughout that. So we're going to do a 3 cheers for old Tollers. Hip hip.
Hooray!
Hip hip.
Hooray!
Hip hip.
Hooray!
So we're gonna drink to his honor.
Just got coffee here, so
and it's cold. Oh wow! Ezra likes that though. He likes cold coffee.
I love cold coffee, man.
So I want to give a shout out to my beautiful wife Sarah and my gorgeous daughter Winnie for letting me do this and take this unexpected adventure with one of my best friends in the world, Ezra, my brother.
Yeah.
So.
Hey, I also too. I want to say thanks to your wife. Honestly, she's beautiful. She's wonderful. She let us hang out here, and it's a beautiful home and a beautiful place. And I enjoy and really appreciate you guys letting me come out here.
And I got to thank my dog Arwen too. Arwen, she's incredible.
Arwen the Snuggles.
Arwen the Snuggly.
She's
Was that
great.
Coffee? I just slurred her name. Whoa.
No, she's great. But yeah, and honestly, thanks, man. This is great. This is gonna be a lot
thank
of
you
fun.
for coming to me. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It's like this will be a cool. This will be a great space to do this.
Yeah,
the
atmosphere is great.
I love it. So yeah, we're coming to you from the Shire of the United States of America, in the beautiful state of Ohio, and I guess we'll see you in a fortnight. And remember, Frodo lives.